Hey everyone, it's Yandia, and today I'm going to share with you my recent near death experience. I actually really feel uncomfortable saying near death experience because it actually was more like coming closer to life more than anything about death at the end of it all. This all began in 2023, spring 2023, when I was getting ready for the retreat that would be happening at the farm. I was told that I would die and that after I died, I would have no more shame and no more guilt. I would have memories of my past, but I would not be able to identify with the pain of my past anymore. And the way this happened was I was literally taken into the future. There's so much to this that I don't even know how I'm gonna fit this into like a simple video. So I'm gonna say the things that just kind of flow out of me, and if you have questions about parts of it, let me know and I will answer. I'm sure in the future I will maybe expand on different areas, but I really just want to get to the parts of the experience that I think are really necessary right now to share. I was brought into the future and I was just experiencing my death. And then as soon as I experienced my death, it was so quick. It's like I couldn't give you the details of it. It's just that I know I experienced dying, but then I didn't die because I pretty much like got there to the experience, right, of dying. And then it like everything started rewinding. So I went into the future, saw that I died, was told that I was going to die, and then I was going to continue living this new life. And then it just started rewinding. And when I say rewinding, like it brought me back into the present. And as it was coming back into the present, I was experiencing time and different situations. And I even passed through the retreat. And there's things that I experienced in the retreat, in this experience, that actually happened when the real retreat happened. And I have people who I told about this experience and told them what was going to happen at the retreat, and that I was going to die. And I didn't realize that there was such a big gap between the future of the dying and the retreat, because it was just like, you can't know what the time is. I just knew it was future, and then it started rewinding. So like 2 weeks before the retreat, I was so scared because I really thought that I was gonna like die at the retreat, and I knew I wasn't gonna really die, but I was going to have this experience that was going to, be like a near-death experience. And so for like 2 weeks before the retreat, I was just going over, everything in my heart and doing whatever work I thought was necessary to do. And then I finally came to the place where it was like, you know what, I surrender to it. And basically, everything that I saw happened at the retreat, but because I had that fear, everything I saw was kind of twisted. So where I thought something was being said about me, right, I actually experienced it being said about somebody else. And the people who had known about this experience that I'm talking about right now, they knew that I said at the retreat there was somebody who was going to be there, and I had never met this person before, and this is what was said. And it even made me more afraid when I experienced that in this experience, because what the person said was like not very nice. And when the retreat was happening, I remember I was like in my kitchen preparing some food to bring out to everyone, and I just surrendered to everything. I said, you know what, it's whatever. I know this is like for the best, and I trust. And so I just let it all go, and I went outside into a tent. And when I went into the tent, there was a conversation that was already being had, and there was a person there that I did not know at all, had never met before. And he said the exact words that I had told everybody that I heard this person say. I didn't have the description of the person because it was so fast when I experienced it that all I knew was that this person was a stranger to me, and I hadn't known them, and I knew that they were male. Anyhow, so, after all of that, it was like, yes, this is great. The retreat happened. I had other spiritual experiences there, and I thought, oh, this is easy. This isn't really like, like I didn't really die, but other things happened there that, really helped me to evolve. So I figured, oh, maybe the death was just like more symbolic, right? And so I just let that go, and I continued on with life. I did another retreat after that one. And I just figured it was just all symbolic, right? What was said to me and what I experienced in that encounter. So fast forward to my birthday, January this year, January 10th, 2024, and basically I turned 41, and I'm super happy, and I'm pregnant. And okay, so 2024 January 10th, it's my birthday. I turn 41. And I wake up to my healing tent totally, like the middle pole was bent. So my mats are soaked. The pole snapped in half. Have you ever heard of such a thing? Literally snapped in half. And it was raining so hard, and it was so cold, and I went out, and I had to take all the stuff out of the tent. And I remember when I looked at it, I remember I stopped, and I just thought, what does this mean? And I just had a moment of knowing that this meant something, and just various, like, there was just a stillness that came over me, and I laughed, and I joked about it. I stayed positive about it. Oh yeah, I always wanted a pool. Look at this kind of thing with my boots. This is not the kind of pool I wanted, but I need to be more specific with my manifestation. This is what happens when you want a pool and you don't be specific. See? That's what it looks like. Be specific with what you want. But it was my birthday. It was early in the rising, and my tent, which is what I used to service people, was down and flooded. And I remember I looked at the rain, and I knew that the rain was a sign of blessing. So I said something like, oh, I have so many blessings, it's flooded my house, or oh, so much blessings, so many blessings in the dead of winter rain. What can I say? Overflowing with blessings. So much blessings. The house collapsed. The tent. Like sometimes the downpour of the blessing can disrupt some things, right? And that was kind of the way I felt. Anyhow, ended up, packing everything up, taking everything out of the tent. Some things were wet, some things weren't. And I had 2 locations. I just wasn't utilizing the second one. And now with this happening, I had to utilize the second one. But I did not even get to set up my second location, because 5 days after my birthday on January 15th, I woke up to bleeding, and I'm just going to have to fast forward over this part, guys, because I want to get to, some other things, and this part is too emotional for me, so please forgive me. But basically, I started bleeding. I had to go to emergency, and when I got there, wait like everybody else, and we told them the situation. I was already having, I have 5 children. I know what it is, to have contractions or surges, and I'm also a doula, so I am very well acquainted with the process of birthing, and I knew, I was able to actually monitor that I was having contractions 1 minute apart, lasting 20 seconds, and we informed them of this, and how far along I was in my pregnancy and everything, and pretty much they were like, yeah, okay, well, we're gonna see what we could do, but you have to wait. And I'm not gonna get into the details of what happened with certain doctors and nurses, but anyways, what ended up happening was I ended up waiting for 3.5 hours before anybody assisted me. And this is while I was having contractions and, getting into delivering a baby that was way too early to be delivered. So pretty much by the time I got in to see a doctor, I literally just took off my clothes, put on the robe, and sat at the table, sat onto the table, and I gave birth. And it was just 1 or 2 heavy, very strong surges, and everything, well, some of the pregnancy, let's put it that way, came out. And what ended up happening was the doctor came in and she saw, what was happening. I'm gonna have to skip over this, but bunch of stuff happened there. Okay, I'm gonna have to skip over this for real. So let's get to the part of the closer to life, right? So let's just say things were not done correctly. Okay, I was discharged, and while I went to the washroom before leaving to go home, and pretty much my body started experiencing maybe shock, right? I guess it started going into shock. But at first it was my fingers, I couldn't feel my fingers. They were getting cold. My hands and feet were getting cold. Then all of a sudden I couldn't feel them. Started feeling darkness coming, and I said, oh, am I gonna pass out? I can't feel myself. And I managed to get out of the washroom, and I saw my partner right there, and I said, I think I'm gonna pass out. I thought I said that. He says I didn't say a word. I just kind of collapsed into him and onto a chair that was there, and he grabbed my head because there was a wall there, and I could have slammed my head into the wall. Anyways, and from his testimony, he said he looked into my eyes and it was just black, he couldn't see me in there, and he was calling my name and there was no answer, and then he started calling for help, and then the nurses and whoever came. We'll skip out that part too, okay? But again, things were not done as they were supposed to be done. So from my perspective, what I was experiencing when this was going on is and this is the first closer to life experience. I basically it felt like I was under water, but it's everywhere was water. The whole space that I was under was water. It's if you ever been under a pool and you could feel, all the water around you. I don't know if it was actually water. Okay, I have to say that, but in this physical body, the only thing I could the only way I could describe it to you is like being underwater. I didn't feel wet or anything like that, but it had that feeling of just kind of floating in a substance that was not still. But anyhow, it was all dark, and the only light that was there was a light that was above me. And the reason why it felt like water also is because I could see waves. And especially when I looked at the light, I could see it was like a circle. It's almost like literally if you're under a pool and let's say there's moonlight or sunlight, and you look up in that area, you could see through that water. I could see waves, like I could see that I was in a substance, put it that way, and like a watery substance, a liquid substance. And I looked up and I could see that on the other side. So if I'm under here, I could see that on the other side, my partner's right here, and he's looking into this like hole. It's like a light, right? But he's looking down, and I know I could get out there to him. So I start not really swimming, but I start like just with my mind, I start just going up into this light. And that's when I really felt the watery feeling, because I could really see the waves. And I'm just going up to him, but I cannot get out of this place. I am like totally, I cannot cross this barrier. And I could see him looking right down at me, and I could see the nurses. And the funny thing is that in this place, although I could only see through this area where the light was, I can tell everything that was going on. Like I knew that there was another nurse that was male that was coming from another area, coming towards me. Like I knew all of this stuff because I even said it to when I was telling my husband what I experienced. I said it all to him, and he was like, yeah, like, so he knew what I was conscious of. But for them, I was gone. I had no like signs of life or whatever, but I was knowing all of this stuff. Anyhow, so I ended up, that happened a few times, and then finally I came out of there. And when I went past that barrier, it's like my eyes, I felt like the way you would feel like when you're waking up. I felt like that. I don't know if I blinked or not, but I felt like the same feeling like when you're waking up. It's crazy. It's the same feeling like when you're waking up. I felt like I was waking up, and I started feeling my body again. And then the nurse was like, are you here? Are you back with us? Are you back? Are you here now? Are you back? And then I don't even think I responded to her. It was just like, whatever. And they got me up onto the stretcher and brought me into a room, and my blood pressure was like crazy low. And I think when it got to like around 90, they said to me, okay, it's 90 now, you're stable, so you can go, but you probably need a wheelchair. And so a wheelchair was brought, and I went into the wheelchair and I went home. We were told, can't get into the details of what we were told, okay? But we were told some stuff. Basically, I may faint at home, and if I faint, my husband should just put an ice pack under my head and pretty much lift my feet up, and everything would be well. So we were like, okay, I guess it's a regular thing that happens, right? So we went home, and we got home like around 1 o'clock, like 1 a.m. or something like that. And when we got home, I just kept bleeding like crazy. Crazy. At the end of it, I ended up losing over 40% of blood. And it went from very high. I could say it was over 140. And by the time I ended up actually leaving the hospital, it was under 70 or 70, around there, right? That's probably all I could say about that. But anyhow, so I got home, kept bleeding, and then I ended up, my hubby was like, okay, well, let's get you into the bedroom, right? So you could rest properly. And then I couldn't even get up. And it was just in like attempting to like get up to like raise myself, I felt everything happening again, and I was like, no, it's happening again. And I ended up just like laying back on the couch, and I was so afraid. I have to admit, I was so afraid, because that feeling of being in this place and not being able to come out is just like not a good feeling, right? And I had so many other spiritual experiences. I've gone to so-called hell before, which I tell you guys, it's not hell. There is everything. It's not that at all. That's a whole, you could look up that video, how to escape hell, because there is no hell like they tell you that there's hell. But there is a hell that you will experience if you don't get your shit right. But it's not like what they say. So you could check out that video, how to escape hell. Okay, so I've had these experiences before, and this was nothing like I had experienced before, because it was real. Like, when I say real, I mean I was actually dying. You know, the other experiences were I was fine, and spirit was just bringing me places and showing me things. This was different. My body was actually shutting down. We came to find out from some other doctors that what had happened to me in the hospital was actually shock. My body went into shock, and after your body goes into shock, basically your organs start shutting down. So anyhow, I was home, and this was happening again. And I remember just trying to stay in my body. I kept coming out of my body, in and out of my body, and I would be in the spirit, and I would come back into the world, in the spirit, back into the world. And I remember it just got to the place where I was so tired. I just told my husband, I said, I cannot hold on anymore. I was so tired. I just could not hold into my body anymore. And I said, you need to get a recorder. I need to leave. I need to say something to the children. I need to let them know, I need to let them know. And all the times I would be going from this world and into the spiritual world, I would be experiencing things. And it happened several times. So there's several things that I now know that I did not know before. And it makes so much sense. There's I think it's a scripture that says the man who knows something knows that he knows nothing at all. That's kind of where it is. After that experience, I totally understand that, because there's a lot that I thought I knew that it wasn't until this last experience that I came to realize that I really did not know anything as I ought to know it, or anyhow. So basically, I feel like I should share something that happened in one of those times where I went into the spirit realm there before coming back to stay. I saw that my mind is just racing right now. Like, so many things are coming to my mind to share. And I saw that we actually will have a time where we review our life. Everybody maybe experiences it differently. I don't know. I could just tell you what I experienced. What I experienced was I saw my life from the beginning of my birth all the way to the present, and it came it almost, how cards, like when you shuffle cards, or someone just goes like this with cards, very fast. It was like that, coming in front of me. Right in front of me, it would be like I was seeing my life in slides, like pieces of it, but it was all one thing, but it was coming so like frames, right? And it was light, but I could look at it, and I could see my life. And it was so quickly that it all looked like one thing, but I could see that it was sections, right? And I was watching everything, and everything that was being showed to me was all my good stuff. I wasn't seeing any of the times where I did bad stuff. It was just everything good. So I'm looking over my life and I'm like, wow, yes, feeling great, feeling great, feeling great. And then all of a sudden, I didn't see these hands, but I could feel it. So when you're in the spirit, you could feel and perceive things. I felt like the way how if you're gathering something together, it felt like there was a force behind me, and it just came as if having two hands, right? And just gathered my life from the beginning to the present, but it gathered it right in front of me, as if to say, like, you're gonna weigh something, like you're gonna weigh something, like, let's bring it all together and see what it's worth, like you're gonna bring it all together. And I was like, oh, like, okay, we're weighing it. Like, I literally, that was my thoughts, was like, yeah, we're weighing it. And it came all together to gather up to like this. And instead of it weighing, it just was like, whoosh, and it just like disappeared. And I knew exactly what it meant. And I was thinking to myself, this is quite embarrassing, but I saw myself doing readings for people. I saw myself helping heal people. I saw myself counseling people, I saw everything. I saw myself with my children, with my husband. I saw myself doing everything, all these things that I thought were like so good. And I remember when everything came together and just smashed and just was nothing. My thought was, I actually said this, like I said, I'm not proud of this, but I said, even being a vegetarian, I was so shocked. Like, I was thinking, how could that not be good? Like, how could that not have some weight to it? Like, I love food, I love food, I have to say. And for me, being a vegetarian first, and then a vegan, and then a vegetarian for, anyways, the whole plant-based thing was like over like 12 years. And I remember thinking, I was so shocked. I don't know why, out of everything else. I guess because everything else that I do, I know that it's spirit doing it. If someone gets healed, if I do a reading, I know that it's spirit. But to me, like, the vegetarian thing, deciding to not harm animals, to eat them, deciding what, it was like, that was me. Like, I was making a choice as a human being to not do this. And spirit doesn't need food, I need food. And and I was deciding to not do this thing that I love the taste of certain foods, and I was choosing to not eat it. And it was just such a shock to me that it meant it meant nothing. It meant nothing at all. And I was so shocked. Yeah. Anyways. And then I understood immediately, though. This is the thing. I was shocked. And it's like, before you can even have a thought, like, you're already getting the answer. Before you could even think a thing, it's already in you. So as soon as I had that thought, like, even that, the answer was already there. And I understood that even the fact that I had that question, it's like the question itself condemned me. Like, the question itself was like, oh, so you thought that was worth something. Like, you thought that you were getting points. I knew the very fact that I had that question was proof that I thought that by doing this, it was gonna be like rewarded, or it was gonna be looked upon as something good. And what I learned from that experience is that doing things, this might be hard to explain, but like, you, in the spirit, you can't fool spirit. You can't fool Most High. Your consciousness knows everything. So here you could play the game and you could fool yourself. Out there you can't. You can't do it. Or I should say, in there, you can't do it. Right? Truth is just plain There is no battling it. There's no questioning it. You know truth. Your own consciousness will condemn you because you can't hide it. So the fact that I even had that question, I was like, oh shit, frig. Oh, I didn't do it from the right place. And I had the understanding that it's not about doing the good. It's about being the good, right? It's not about, it really is not about doing. Like, life is not about doing shit. Life is about being. You know, you can't do love. You have to be love. You can't do good. You have to be good. You know, it's so anything that we did, it will end up being nothing if we weren't it. You understand? Like, if we weren't it, it is not, it is zero. I'm sharing this because I know that even if one person hears this and decides to change from being a person who just does stuff to becoming a person who is the stuff that they're trying to do, I would have helped somebody. And I don't know if I would have necessarily understood this message, honestly, if someone gave it to me. I don't know. But I've gone through everything I've gone through, and I'm hoping that by sharing this, by being vulnerable, and I know people will say whatever the hell they want to say, and sharing something as sacred as my pregnancy and the transitioning of my child, is hard for me. But I know that if I can help one person, even if it's just one person, to change their perspective on doing and start being, I will be so happy. I will honestly be so happy. So basically after that, I saw everything, because I saw my whole life and I saw everything that I had done, and I understood how I was doing and I wasn't being. So then immediately I understood what it meant to be, what it looked like to be, and what it meant to be, to actually feel it. I understood the correction came immediately. And then I was like, wow, I really fucked this up. Excuse the language, but I actually thought, like, holy shit, I messed up big time. Like, I really screwed up life. Like, I really messed this up. I was doing and not being. And then I ended up, so right after that happened, I came back. I was just in and out of my body. I went back in, and then I remember, like, my husband, he was like on the phone with 911. He's trying to get like the ambulance to come here. And then I went back. I was back there again. And then this time, this is the real one. This is like the one where, like, this is the life changer more than anything else for me. It's really hard. This light is actually very bright. So it's hard to like stare this way, but I have to give my eyes some little rest. Okay, so don't mind that I'm like looking away, but I'm like, damn. Okay, anyhow, so when I went back into the spirit realm this time, I was able to see every single person that I'd ever have an encounter with was in front of me. And you would not believe the amount of people that you have encounters with. And I could say that because I know that it's something that all of us are going to be shocked by if we don't already know it, right? Every single person that I ever had an encounter with, like, was there in front of me. Holy crow, I could look so far, and there were people. I could look all the way over there, and there were people, and they were sectioned off. So it's like, I know who the people are, but they appeared as like lights, right? Some lights were brighter and some were dimmer. So all the way to the back, as far as I could see, were the dimmest lights. And then it came forward to the brightest lights at the front. And in the front, the brightest lights were my hubby and my 5 children. They were bright, and they were right in front of me, and everybody else was going, further back. So getting dimmer and dimmer, and then just further back. And if I like looked over and I focused on like I focused on like far to the back, to the left, I would know who that person is, what the encounter was. If I turned this, like everybody, I was able to know everybody, and there were so many people. Brief encounters, like it matters. It matters. Everyone you meet is an opportunity to do something amazing. Everyone you meet is an opportunity to receive love or to give love or to do both. Every single person. So every time you meet somebody and encounter someone, you are deciding to make that person just a dim light or a bright light. And the light is, I was able to even know the light was actually the quality of love. So a person where there was just a little bit of love, they were like very, very dim, or like hardly any love. They were like the dimmest. They were far to the back. And the people who were a lot of love, they were all there, right? Like they will be brightest and to the closest to you, right? So I was able to realize like, wow, like, yeah, there's the person, but love is actually the light. And all I could think about was, like my partner and my children. Yes, like look how bright they are, and they're right in front of me. And there was no feeling like, oh, all of these lights aren't bright and shining. There was nothing like that. It was just like truth, right? Oh yeah, here's the here's the light. But I knew these lights could have been brighter, but there was no, like, I wasn't in trouble or anything. You know what I mean? There was no like condemnation for not having brighter lights or whatever. But I had a full understanding that all of these lights could be dimmer, they could be brighter, and this is what causes them to be brighter. This is what causes them to be dimmer. So pretty much what ended up happening after that was I was taking in the organization, like specifically, how do I explain it? Like specifically, I was focused in on the organization of it. Those being far, like for whatever reason, this is why I feel like this is what I have to share, is because of how it almost seemed like Spirit made me take in all the details of this so that I can never forget it and to be able to share it. And so anyways, everything was slowed down. Like when I realized like, oh, this isn't light, this is love. And I could actually feel it. I could actually feel it. Like love is not an emotion. Love is a real tangible thing, that all of the universe is made of this light. It's not like these lights that you see. It's not like that. It's actually a light that's like a substance that things are made of. So anyhow, and you can actually make love. This is the thing. You can actually make love. Love is something that can be made and that can be multiplied. It's not just the way we taught it, like, oh, it's an emotion, it's just a feeling. No, love is the substance. It's a substance. It's actually a real thing that everything else is made of. Like this whole place is made of love, you know? So anyhow, what happened after that is the scariest part. I thought that was it, but then I started going back. And while I was going back, I was able to, like, because in there's no time, but I was able to detect like time passing. It was very fast. And I don't know to tell you, like, for me it felt like 8 years. But I don't know if it's 8 years. It just felt like 8 years, but it could be more, it could be less. But it felt like I was being pulled 8 years away from the brightest lights, which were in front of me, right? Which were my hubby and my 5 children. These lights were in front, and I was being pulled like 8 years away from them. And, well, what felt like 8 years away. And, when I got to that place, it stopped, and I could see it. I could see them dimming. And I knew that as time went on, the love would fade. I knew very specifically that the memory that they would still remember me, probably never forget me. I knew that they would, laugh about things, and but you see, because I came into the understanding that love is a substance, it is an essence, it is a real thing. I knew that real thing around 8 years, remember I'm telling you, like, just in my feeling, 8 years away, whatever felt like 8 years, they would have the memories, but that feeling, they wouldn't be able to feel me anymore. They wouldn't be able to feel me anymore. And when I felt that, even if I knew they would remember me, the thought of them not feeling me, oh my gosh, it just like, I don't know the feeling to explain to you. It like ripped my heart. Like it pain. I never felt pain in this whole experience. I felt pain in that moment. And I knew that had I made love more with them, I could go for a million years away and we would still have that feeling. But they would still be able to feel me. Even if I transitioned, like, they would still be able to feel me. I also was able to know that when we do stuff like readings and so on or whatever, like, let's say someone has passed, transitioned, and sometimes they want to give a message to a loved one. That's what they're accessing. They're accessing this channel of love, this light that is a real thing. It's like, I can't help but say it's real. They're tapping into that, and that is what keeps the connection alive. And it literally is like an umbilical cord, if you want to think of it that way. It's just it's tangible, and it's how you can continue to commune and experience a oneness with somebody who is gone to the other side, or somebody who's here with you. That's how you stay, you remain one with each other. Anyway, so at that point, I just was like, I knew I wasn't alone too. Where I was, I knew I wasn't alone. There was definitely a presence. I was aware that what I was experiencing was known by others that were there, and I just knew. I knew that what I was experiencing was regular, and I knew that whatever was happening to me was being observed, and I felt safe, right? But I had this feeling of, I can do it right if I get a second chance. And I knew that I could do it right if I get a second chance. It wasn't a guess. It was like, if I can go back, now that I know this, I can do it right. I can do it right. I know how to love now. To the T, I know how to love now. And I would share with anybody who wants to know, love is, the way you make love is by being absolutely present. I didn't know what it meant to be present before until that experience. But you have to be absolutely present, meaning you have to give, if you want to make love with somebody, you have to give them your attention. You have to give them your eyes. You have to give them your ears. You have to give them your smell. You have to give them everything. Your mind cannot be anywhere else. You have to be all there on them, on the experience, on the sharing of that moment together. And when we do that, whether it's with our baby, with our partner, with our husband or wife, with a teacher and a student, you and your pet, when you're planting anything, when you give it all of your attention, and then you could have that feeling of appreciation and gratitude, right? Bliss. That is how you make love. So for me, I had seen, like, there are times where my children, like, I would be with them and maybe I'm working. Oh, mom, look at this. And I look and I'm like, oh, that's nice. That's so beautiful. Wow. Keep going. Good job. But my mind is like, don't forget what you're about to write. Don't forget what you're about to think. Like, my mind is like, pause, hold this thing here, and I'm giving you. So my attention is like split between my children and that, or my husband and that, or my client and this, or whatever the case may be. So I'm not actually making good love, right? It's not the real deal. It's not the real deal, right? It's a fake. So it's not the good stuff. So I just wanted to come back and do it right. I was so saddened. I've never felt a grief like that. The greatest grief is to know that you had a chance to love and you didn't do it. Worse yet, when you thought you were doing it and you actually weren't. And it's so easy to love. It's so easy to just be present. If you can't decide between this and that, just be like, hey, hold on. I have to put my attention here and give that thing your full attention, and then come back and give the other thing your full attention. It counts for nothing when you split your attention. It's zero. It's nothing at all. Zero, right? So then I came back to this side, and that's when I felt like I couldn't hold on anymore. And I asked my partner to please just get something that I could record and leave my last words for my children. I wanted to speak something, over them from what I had gathered in this experience. And I wanted them to know how much, I love them. And I wanted to there's so much I wanted to tell them, but I didn't have. Actually, in the recording, I actually I think I skip over some children because I'm talking directly to one of them, and then I fade out. I come back, and I didn't realize I was fading in and out when I was leaving the message, right? But anyhow, I did that, and then I just said to my hubby, I said, we have to pray, please, let's just try, and together, we could ask for me to stay, and we did. And it was like, I could feel when I was on, this is so emotional right now, but I could feel when I was on the other side, I could feel him holding me. I could feel him grounding me here. So I know that love is not just an emotion. Love is an actual thing. It's physical. You can feel it. You can touch it. You can taste it. You can create worlds with it. You can heal with it. It's literally the substance of all of creation. And I could feel him while I was there. I could feel him holding me with his love. And, oh my gosh. And I don't know, it's I passed out, and then I ended up coming back into my body. And I've been here since, but the ambulance came, and I went to the hospital, and there was this doctor, an angel, and she, there's a whole thing that happened in the ambulance too, but I'll talk about that another time. It was good stuff. But the doctor asked me, some questions, and I said, no one examined me. I was just sent home, right? And so, can't get into that, guys, right? But, basically she examined me, and she was able to figure out, so easily to see what the issue was, and my bleeding stopped pretty much, just it subsided so greatly after she examined me. And I had lost so much blood. I had to get iron intravenous, right? I had to get iron that way. And there's so much that's happened since then. My diet has changed. I'm just trying to stay alive, so that I can love. The only thing that matters to me right now is to be alive long enough to love hard, to love true love. Whether that be my children, my husband, my family, clients, people I meet, strangers, it's either I'm present, loving you, or I'm not, and that's fine. But I'm not going to waste the time. Now that I know, I'm not going to waste the time pretending to love. That's a waste of time when you could actually be loving, so I feel like that is the part that I really felt pressed on me to share right now. Like I said, I went back and forth several times, so there's other things that are important, but love is all there is. Everything is made of love, and the only way to make love is to be present. Please be present. Be present with your children, be present with your mates, be present with your loved ones, be present, especially teachers, be present with your student. If we could all just be present with each other and not have our minds thinking, even when you're in a conversation and somebody's talking and you're thinking about what you're going to say, you're not in love. You're not loving. So it doesn't matter, don't think about what you will say. Listen with your heart, give them your eyes, give them your ears, give them your everything, and just listen. You don't have anything to try to prove or to protect. Like, you don't, right? So if you actually give somebody your all and you listen and you observe with all of your senses, you may just understand something so differently because you're actually being love. You're actually being love in that moment. And love is truth. So maybe you'll hear even something so much deeper than what they're saying. And then now you can respond. And if that person is giving you all of their presence, then they could hear what you're saying. And then there's no need for all of the hate. There's no need for all of the competition and the fighting. And I remember when I came fully back into my body, like for a week or so, I would be just kind of still in and out, but not the way that I was when I was dying. It was just like your regular kind of astral projection, in and out. It was hard for me to stay like in my actual body the whole time, and it was hard for me to function. I couldn't walk very far. I couldn't eat things without like passing out. I just didn't have enough blood, and getting oxygen to my brain was difficult. I couldn't remember simple things, like I couldn't remember how I drew a picture. I couldn't remember how I created something, like totally blank. And that was very scary because my thought was like, will I ever be able to like use my brain? Like, would I ever remember things? Right? It was just weird. And but for that first time there, like those first few weeks where I couldn't remember stuff, I could just remember the experience, and I had my children in front of me and my husband, and it was just like love, just love. I just had a chance to just focus in on that and to really reflect on my life and what was important, and so even deciding like, how am I gonna go forward with like this YouTube channel, sharing things on social media, I want whatever I do to be meaningful, and I want to be present. I don't want to create things just for the sake of creating because of likes, and F that shit. Like, it comes to nothing. Doesn't matter how many people like you on here. It's not love. It is not love. And they're going to be the darkest ass lights, far. I know this. They're going to be far to the back and very, very dark. And you're going to have a lot of people all blacked out like dark lights. And hopefully you have some who are lit. But if they're not lit, you're going to be very sad. You're going to be sad that you wasted so much time making these content videos and there's no love there. It's going to be so terrible. So I'm saying to you, please slow it all down. And love is the most important thing. I don't know how else I can really say it. just slow it all down and wake up to the reality that love is the most important thing. Be present with yourself. Honestly, be present. It starts here. Be present with yourself. For the first time in my life, I actually love myself. Like actually love myself. And I listen to myself a lot more, feel my body a lot more. Everything is different. I'm making this video too long now, right? But I'm just trying to say, love yourself, love others. Without presence, love is nothing. Without all of your presence, love is nothing. You could give $1 billion check and it will count for nothing. It will be zero if you are not fully present and you are not loving. That check you will get to your afterlife and be like, oh, but I gave these people $1 million, $1 trillion, and I gave my this to happen and that and it will be zero. It will mean nothing and you will feel like a jackass. So I'm trying to help you. Stop all the noise and just decide what is the most important thing or people to you in your life, and just love these people, and hopefully you could expand that love and grow that love to more and more people. But just start with you and then go outward to whoever else is around you. But I'm telling you, you're going to have to give an account for every single encounter and interaction that you've ever had. You will see them all there. It wasn't until about a week or two after I had that experience that I realized that back in 2023, I was brought into the future and shown that I would die and that my life would be totally changed. I wouldn't experience any guilt or shame of my past. I would have the memory of it, but not any of that experience, wouldn't be holding me, and I would have a new life. And so here I am. It is my joy to help you manifest your dream life and highest self. Hopefully we could start from here. Bye-bye.
Resurrection. I have died many times and returned to tell you this one truth. Love is all there was, is, and will be. It is light, the only essence. The only way to love is to be. And there is no being without presence. For truly the only gift that lasts in the eternal now is the present you gift in your presence. Love is always here and now. If you are still in it, you will find that you are still in it. May yours be happily ever after, for death has no graves in an open heart.